Hey kiddos, Mr. Face here. Sorry I was gone for a little bit. Had to get a new mask. The old one was, about ready to get retired. Anyway, I have a little bit of explaining to do before our story tonight. This story was given to me by a very good friend of mine, and I really had a lot of fun editing it and recording it, and I do hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Tonight's story is Cudülh.
The funeral was beautiful. My friend's family wept in silence after having their son's face removed from his body and their youngest kidnapped within the same night. The cops want to blame the parents for the disappearance and murder, but who could do such a thing to their own children, besides a psychopath or a serial killer? Mr. and Mrs. Ferris had been talking about divorce for a couple years now, and it's led to both Jester, the eldest, 17 now with no face, and Clyde, the youngest, at 14, flunking classes and getting into trouble. Not that it was a problem for my parents to have been planning a divorce, and I have been meddling with Clyde over new impressive ways to anger the townsfolk without getting caught. My older brother Craig, same age as Jester, placed his cold hand on my shoulder and leaned in. "Mason, we should go soon. It's getting dark, but I want to see this thing all the way through. Mom and Dad left me in charge while they're out of town. Now, I'm sorry about your friend. We don't know if the person responsible for this is here or not." I shrugged my shoulders as I released a sigh, like it was trapped within my body and finally found its escape. We gave our condolences to Jester and Clyde's parents as we set off for home. An hour later, we arrived home and the sky shows no stars nor moon, as if the show had been cancelled due to the events that happened recently. The garage doors close as we turn off the car. Craig brings me upstairs into our parents' room and takes out my dad's .44 and loads it. I knew it was for our safety, so I kept my mouth shut. I walked closely behind him as we locked all the doors and windows in the house. After our slow exploration through the known lands, we turn on our security system. Alarm set, windows locked, doors locked. Everything was in order. We both decided to sleep in one room and lock the door to further increase our safety. My room was chosen for the fact that Craig's had photos of naked women all over his room like most adult men in the early 2000s. I lay in my bed with a fan pointed at me on the lowest setting to help calm me so I can get a full night's rest. My eyes start to collapse, and I catch a glimpse of my older brother leaning back against his computer chair facing the door and window with the .44 in his hand. The blackness engulfs me. I am finally asleep. I'm caught within a whirlpool of confusion as I awake. My fan was off. Was it due to my brother getting cold? His room was always hot. I noticed out of the corner of my eye my room door was wide open, so I got up to find Craig. "Leave no soldier behind," my dad would always tell us. I grab hold of the railing on the stairs as I use it to guide my way down into the further abyss. My heart starts beating fast, so loud that it's the only noise I can hear for miles. I take my time, blindly gliding against the wall in the living room to see if the kitchen light is on. But I'm only left to stare at complete and utter darkness. Something crashes from my kitchen. "Someone's in here." "Craig? Is that you?" I whisper into the darkness as I hide underneath the arm of the couch. Footsteps are heard, but not from the kitchen. Craig walks down the stairs. Wait, if that's Craig, then who's in the kitchen? My heart starts racing faster. Craig turns on the living room light. A tall, bumpy, distorted figure is standing next to the kitchen table. Craig walks towards the kitchen, whispering my name, trying to find me. Fear strikes me as the electricity in the house powers down, and I'm left in the complete dark. The only light left in the room was a red LED from behind the thin plastic within the router. My older brother ducks down next to the kitchen floor, listening carefully. After a couple of minutes, my eyes adjust to the darkness. I see Craig with a figure behind him. "Craig! Behind you!" I scream as my body starts to shake from fear from the mysterious intruder. Craig whips around and tries to pull a shot off. A flash from the gun reveals a grotesque scene. It was no man, but an abomination from hell itself. Eyes protrude from all over its body. There were a dozen different colored patches sewn into it. A talon reached up and pierced through Craig's arm, causing him to drop the weapon. No noise escaped his mouth. The thing had already cut Craig's throat to stifle his screams. Not even echoes came out. It took both hands and placed each one on Craig's shoulders and hoisted him into the air. Its mouth unhinged and opened wide, releasing an extra limb from within. This limb attached onto Craig's face with what looks like a finger with yet another claw and some sort of suction cup along the outside of his face. There was a quick flash of red. The walls were repainted with Craig's blood. His body dropped. The eyes and face were cut clean. This being of hell pulls out the blade it used to cut Craig's throat and cuts off portions of his skin and drops the rest. He then pulls out a needle and thread and begins to sew my brother's eye socket onto what I believe is its chin. My brother's eye is then placed in the socket from his now decapitated head. I start breathing heavily. Did I just see my brother die in front of me? Denial takes hold of me and I start to cry. I look up at its monstrosity standing directly over me. The eye on his chin is now looking at me. Each segment of its body is stitched into it.
Shh! Don't cry! Cudülh is here to take care of you!
I black out. My eyes are closed, yet I can hear the fan running on low. It's daytime. I jolt awake in a heavy sweat. The smell of bacon wafts into my nose from downstairs. I hear multiple people talking quietly from the same direction. I turn off my fan and change my clothes. I turn my door handle and get electrocuted, most likely from the static electricity that built up in the fuzzy sheets during the night. "Mason, get down here!" It sounded like a jumble through all the voices in unison talking within the kitchen. I grab my door handle. No shock this time. I open the door and walk downstairs. As I turn into the kitchen, I swear I hear my brother say, "Welcome home!" But we already are home. The kitchen seats around the table are filled with kids my age, including Clyde. Their eyes missing, yet tears still form from the empty sockets. The monstrosity passes out plates of food, plates of his old skin that he had removed from other victims.
I am Cudülh. I am your older brother now.
The monstrosity says.